with open eyes. Do we know what we've become? Look at where we started from.
Hello everyone, this is Donnie, aka Elevated with Dota Alchemy. I am back from TI 8. Today's video is going to be a little bit of an advanced concept, so take notes on this one. You might need to watch this a couple of times, but basically what we're going to be talking about is how to read your opponent's minds, how to read their moves and react before they actually do something. And this will allow you, as you put it into practice, to be in the right place at the right time, doing the correct action at the right time, just when it's required. And the inspiration for making this video is that one of the biggest complaints that I see all the time is, how do I get my team to stop feeding? How do I help my team play better? How do I get them to not die all the time so that we can actually take objectives and win the game or make space? And as we talked about before, each player on a team brings a certain amount of ability and game-winning plays to the table. So if your team is playing poorly, you need to pull more weight, you need to be in the right place more often, you need to make less mistakes. And if your team is playing well, you might not need to do that, but we should always strive to be making as many good plays and being in the right place at the right time as often as possible. So how do we get better at reading our opponents? Well, one of the biggest tools that we have is the minimap. And the minimap gives us an absolutely massive amount of information if we're utilizing it correctly. I found it really fun to actually watch the player cams during TI because you could see that their eyes were always kind of on a rotation. They would be going to the screen, down to the minimap, over their items and skills, back up to the screen, over the minimap, items and skills. It was kind of like this triangle that they were constantly doing over and over and over and over again. And you can see that they're just always looking to gather more information about the situation that's going on in the game. But what exactly are we looking at the minimap for? And that can vary depending on what position you are, what hero you're playing. But generally speaking, you want to be keeping track of where the enemy heroes are and how fast they're moving and what direction they are moving in. This can allow you to predict where the enemy team is going as far as what objectives they're trying to take, what heroes they're trying to gank, where they're trying to farm, and it can allow you to counterplay them or just avoid them if you don't feel like you are ready to take a fight. So in this first example, you can see that I'm about to respawn and I'm checking the various lanes and I'm checking sort of the status of my heroes and the enemy heroes, anybody that I can see on the map. And I see that the Storm Spirit is level 9 and we have a Zeus mid, and I know that Storm Spirit around this time is very capable of just jumping the other mid laner and killing them. And so I am kind of anticipating that he's going to do this because I see that my Zeus is completely alone on the map and the other heroes on my team are mostly in vision of the other team. And that's the biggest thing, is you need to kind of look at the game from the perspective of the other team to be able to read their mind. So in this case, I'm basically predicting that the Storm Spirit is going to zip on my Zeus soon. And as a result, I'm going to keep my eyes on that lane, looking for the Storm Spirit to zip on my Zeus so that I can counterplay him. And this allows me to show up the second that the Storm Spirit goes on Zeus and ensure that we don't lose our mid laner. So in this clip, I've just rotated to the top lane to get a kill on Earthshaker. So the enemy team has seen me in the top lane. And because I'm playing an axe with a blink dagger, I know that my job is basically to stay off the map as much as possible now. We actually talked about this in our video about Sebastian from Team OG and how he played his axe game at TI. But basically, when you have a hero that has very strong counterplay potential, you should be very active in looking at the map and figuring out where you should be next. So as we start this clip, you can see that there are currently no heroes on the other team showing. But we can also see that from the other team's perspective, there is one hero that is showing, and that is the support Lion. We can see that he is very low net worth. He's a very easy kill for a Storm Spirit or any hero +1 pretty much. And because he's showing in the mid lane, the other team is going to assume that the other heroes are in the jungle somewhere, and this makes the Lion seem like a pretty juicy target. And so returning to my own perspective, we don't really have heroes in good spots to save this Lion. So I know that because that is my job, to protect my teammates with my Blink Dagger and my call, that I need to position myself in a way to where I can react to save this Lion should he get gone on. And I also know that he probably will get gone on because I'm looking at the map and seeing that he is in a vulnerable position. And we can also see that Zeus kind of makes the same read. He knows that Lion is in a vulnerable position. So this is good on Zeus as well. We both kind of sit here expecting Storm Spirit especially, or a Spectre +1 to go on this Lion. And now that we have our Crystal Maiden showing top and our Void showing bottom, it's even more likely that this Lion is in trouble. And yes, our Crystal Maiden is solo and our Void is solo, but Void has a lot more survivability than Lion or Crystal Maiden, and Crystal Maiden is near our tier 1 tower, and the other team does not have a tier 1 tower in that lane, whereas the Lion is quite close to the enemy tier 1 tower, which means that there could definitely be heroes rotating into that tower ready to jump on him at any second. And sure enough, the Storm Spirit zips in, and had I not been here before, anticipating that this was going to happen, there is no chance that we would have been able to save the Lion from the initial assault by the Storm Spirit. He does end up dying, but you can see that the other team has to commit a lot more than they were intending to get this kill on the Lion. And you can see that we end up chasing them out because they're overextended trying to kill this Lion. And as a result, we get a bunch of kills in return and take their tier 1 tower. So it's a great trade for us because we were in the right position at the right time to turn it around. And this was not some set play. Like the Lion didn't say, hey guys, why don't you sit behind me? I'm gonna bait. And I didn't say, hey Lion, why don't you go bait? I'll sit behind you. This is just an observation that I made by looking at the minimap. And I assume the Zeus also made the same one since we both were in the same position. We saw the Lion was definitely the most vulnerable hero on the map at the time. And we went to a spot where we could take advantage of his poor positioning. Because really, that is a pretty bad position by the Lion. He's very, very weak at this time. He knows that there's a Storm Spirit that wants to be aggressive. He knows that there's a Spectre that wants to use a taunt. And he's in a spot that's pretty compromised. But once we're in position behind him, it's actually not that bad of a mistake because ultimately he ends up baiting them in and we take a good fight as a result. And just for contrast, here's something that happened a few moments later where I came top lane kind of baiting the Lion again because there was a Weaver up here. And I was expecting to maybe go on the Weaver if he went on the Lion too aggressively. But then all of a sudden the Weaver shows up mid. So I decide, okay, I don't need to be here anymore. And I'm going to go farm some jungle camps. And the second that I blink to go farm the jungle camps, the Storm shows up and obliterates the Lion in a matter of seconds. So you can see the difference that reading a situation correctly can make. In both cases, my Lion is out of position and vulnerable. In one, the result is good for us, and in the other, he just feeds, and the Storm Spirit begins to snowball. And in this last example, you can see that we have a ward, the other team smokes underneath it, and I immediately ping it out. And then I use a scan to kind of predict where I think the other team is going to be, and I want to keep track of where they're moving because they could have gone in various different directions. So once the scan goes red, I know that they are headed into our jungle. They're going to try and take a fight against the heroes that are here, and I need to position myself accordingly. Now, this whole game, I knew that the Storm Spirit was the most dangerous hero on the other team to all of the other heroes in my team because he has an Orchid, he was the highest level, he had the most damage, and so he was going to be targeting our Zeus, our Lion, our Crystal Maiden. And so once this fight breaks out, I don't immediately jump in because I didn't see the Storm Spirit smoke up with them. I don't know where he is, and I want to make sure that I am there to stop the Storm Spirit from doing damage. So once the Zeus drops his Thunder God's Wrath, I see exactly where the Storm is. He's headed toward the fight, and so I don't go help my team take care of the Weaver and the Earthshaker and the Venge. I figured that we're going to trade with them. It's going to be okay, but we will absolutely lose the fight if the Storm Spirit gets on top of the Zeus. So I position myself in a way where I can sit back, wait for the Storm to go on the Zeus, and then counter-initiate on him when he's not expecting it. And you can see that I'm able to get the call on him. We end up killing the Zeus. We end up taking a great fight, and as a result, we're able to push racks on the other side of the map. So basically what I'm trying to say is that you can get a ton of information to be able to anticipate the moves of your opponents if you use the minimap, and you also think about the positions of your heroes on the minimap from the perspective of the other team. Obviously, you won't have quite the same perspective because they might have wards here or there, but you need to think about it as if you were the other team trying to be aggressive on your team. And in that way, you'll be able to figure out where you should be and when you should be there. And this is important for all heroes. This isn't just a counter-initiating hero like Axe. If you play support, this is super important to be behind your cores when they need you to be there to help them out or take fights. And if you are playing a core and you're trying to get farm and you're behind and you need to find some space to get that farm, just look at the minimap. Look at where the heroes are, look at where they're moving. And if you see a couple of heroes suddenly appear on one side of the map when they were on the other side, it's a pretty good bet that you can go to the other side of the map and find farm there, because there will be less heroes there and less danger. Even if you don't necessarily have good vision in that area, if you see a bunch of heroes in one part, it's probably pretty safe to be in the other part. That's it, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching this video. Let us know in the comment section below if you enjoyed this content and what you would like us to cover next. And of course, you can always follow us on social media at Dota Alchemy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more updates and content. Thanks so much for tuning in again. Good luck, have fun, and we will see you next time.